Hey guys, good morning. It's time to walk and talk. So I was thinking this morning about our actions and reactions and goal setting and introspection. And what I thought to share with you guys today was that if you have been a person who has experienced some kind of event that was challenging, painful, and what you would consider a terrible experience, you may not label it trauma or abuse, just might be an unfortunate circumstance. What your brain does is it reacts and begins to want to prevent this from happening in the future. And what happens is if these unfortunate events happen over and over again, is that your brain begins to believe there's no safety. And it wants to provide you with safety. And so your brain will continue doing. And that's what happens when you get stuck in the fight or flight loop. And so your brain just does and does and does and does. You're always changing ideas, having new ideas. You just feel like you have to keep moving because if you stop, something bad's going to happen. And I'm here to tell you, one, that's very frustrating. Two, very confusing because oftentimes your goals and intentions change drastically from what they were. But this is a trauma response because your brain has tricked you into believing these are the things that you need to do in your life in order to be safe. And then we change it in our minds to replace the word safety with productive. And so we then begin to believe that being productive is something we have to continue on a regular basis and there's no rest. And so that's, where this hustle culture is kind of born from. And what happens if you get stuck in this fight or flight loop and the hustle culture, believing that your burners need to be on all the time or something bad is going to happen? You lose direction and you lose sight of where you're going. Your goals usually don't pan out because you change them so frequently. And things happen where, years may go by and you feel confused. I get middle-aged people oftentimes still saying, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And they've been grown up for 20, 30 years and they feel shame because they don't feel like they know where they're going. And I'm here to help you out today. Introspection. We have to stop and we have to look within. And for someone that has experienced unfortunate events in life, they learned they got where they are by doing. I am one of those people that I learned the only way to get through the abuse that I experienced and the hard times that I experienced was I just had to keep fighting. And that in the interim, in the beginning, was very helpful. But as time went by and there was no fight left, no one was trying to hurt or abuse me, I got stuck in that loop. And so I would often change my direction. I would change my goals. I would change my intentions. I wouldn't write them down because they were going to change probably tomorrow. And I got stuck in this perpetual cycle that I kept saying I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, even though I was already a psychologist. I was already very, a car almost hit me, so I had to slow down, guys. I was already successful. I was already doing the thing. And yet I still felt like I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And that was because I didn't stop and sit with me and make sure that where I was going was actually where I needed to be. And once I started sitting with myself, being introspective, understanding my feelings, my belief systems, my thoughts and was able to actually, without fear, say, this is where I want to be and this is where I want to go, I kept wondering. And so when I was able to sit and do those things, then I was able to get back up and plan and set goals and accomplish those goals and feel centered. And I think that's the problem. Well, I know that's the problem with all my training in psychology. I know that's the problem. When you have been through a lot of shit in your past, you tend to look out for the threat, even when the threat's gone. And so you do, rather than be. And I was actually told this by my therapist not too long ago. And yes, I'm in therapy because it is beneficial for me to keep my mind straight and keep things together. And I recommend it for everyone. But she told me, stop doing and just be. And when she said that, I thought, I might combust into flames or something, because that was so against what I knew to do. And when I actually took heed to what she was saying, understood what she was saying, and began just being, every bit of anxiety, every bit of fear, every bit of doubt, all these things just went away. I no longer felt the need to be afraid. I never thought this would happen, but just being has allowed me to sit in my shoes and be comfortable, know that what I have to say is great, and know that what I have to say is meaningful to someone. And that's why I do these lives, is because I know it's for someone, and that's what I do. And so I'm here to say that if you are a doer and a habitual doer that just doesn't stop, and you feel the need to just continue because nothing's going to get better unless you do, I encourage you to just be. Sit with yourself, do some meditation. I recently had a client and I told her to meditate, and she's a doer too. And she looked at me with the craziest look and was like, what? And I said, yeah, I know. People that have had trauma don't like to just be and meditate. That's the hardest thing in the world, because it is working against your fight or flight. But that's what we need to do in order to overcome that fight or flight response. We have to manually shut it off. The only way to manually shut it off is to work against it. Working against it is introspective. So if you sit back and you meditate, you sit back and you journal, you sit back and say, hey, what is it that I really want to do? And be honest with yourself without fear. You will be surprised of the release that you will experience by doing these things. And it is not natural. It is not something that you are good at. And I'll just tell you that. But that's okay, because that's the place you need to be. So I hope this was super helpful for someone, because I know it is. I just know this, and I want you to just be today. That is the reason why I go on these walks, is because one, it allows me to talk to you guys, and I could throw on some sunglasses and not wear makeup and it's all good. But two, I get to just be with myself, be with nature, and no one's asking me to do anything. And so I could just be. So I encourage you to do that. If that's something that you jump into and it works for you, send me a DM. I would love to hear about how being introspective has helped you reduce your anxiety. So until next time, y'all, be well, and I hope to see you soon.